Welcome on in, everybody, to the first episode of our new podcast here on the Jazz Huddle. Note taken. This is going to be the podcast that brings you guys content throughout the entire summer. Now, this isn't the only type of content that we're going to be filming for you guys throughout this summer and before the season begins in the fall, but this is going to be a lot of the content that you guys see. It's something Blake and I were very excited about. We told you you guys the podcast was coming, but we had to work on some stuff to make the podcast happen and make it ready to happen. We didn't want to rush it, go into some things. So we know that the season ended around 2 weeks ago, but this is when the podcast is finally getting going every single day through the weekdays, Monday through Fridays is when this podcast is going to be brought to you. And we could not be more excited to start the off-season content and get ready for next Jazz basketball season, because this one was fun, and we're going to have a lot of conversation about this past season for the Utah Jazz, which exceeded many expectations, was one of the most fun seasons of watching Jazz basketball in a long time. I'd say exclude that 2021 year, and it might be the most fun Jazz season I've had as a fan in the entire time that I've been a fan over the last 7-8 years since I've started watching the Jazz. This season brought a lot of fun, joy. We're going to talk about that, but Blake, it's awesome to finally start doing this. Took a little while, but here we go, baby. The podcast is underway. We got a lot more in store too this summer.
Yes, sir. I mean, this is just the beginning, of course. You know, this is a different summer for us. We're trying to really drive the content, get you guys engaged and ready for next season and the draft, which is coming up. So we'll have plenty of content coming your way. But
it's only 14 days away to the draft lottery.
Yeah, and we got stuff coming.
Away. And listen, Danny Ainge, where was he? Can I ask you where Danny Ainge was?
Europe. He was in Europe.
Who was he watching?
Victor Wembanyama.
Future Jazzman, Victor Wembanyama, y'all.
Future Jazzman,
Victor Wembanyama. Listen, the odds say 4.5%, but not to me. To me, it's 99.9 until my heart gets broken on May 16th. But you know what? I can believe for 2 more weeks that Victor Wembanyama is going to be on the Utah Jazz. And you know what? Jazz have some draft picks. Why not? Go out, make it happen. We'll talk about all of that in the next coming weeks. But we're super excited to get this podcast going. But we want to talk about this season because this season was one heck of a year for the Utah Jazz. It started around July of last year. I think we can say is really when everything started changing for this Utah Jazz team. You know,
big time.
We only had 3 players, I think it was, return. It was Azubuike, Rudy Gay, and then I think it was one more guy who was on the team last year that was on it this year.
Mike Conley.
Mike Conley, yes, before he got traded to Minnesota. But it's a very new team, and it all started with the Rudy Gobert trade to Minnesota, which was almost a year ago. Crazy to think about that. It was almost a year ago that trade went down where the Jazz acquired Patrick Beverley, Leonardo Belmaro, Jared Vanderbilt, Walker Kessler, Malik Beasley, one other guy. I don't know who the guy was. Well, it doesn't matter. We also got some 5 first-round draft picks. It was absolutely ridiculous. And it set us up for such a great place. You've got a center in Walker Kessler now who had a better year than Rudy Gobert. Let's start right there. Rudy Gobert had his worst block percentage or block numbers since he was a rookie on the Utah Jazz. 1.4 blocks per game.
Which is still fantastic. But I mean, think about it though. Walker Kessler coming in as a rookie. This is a guy who had a little bit of expectations, but nothing too crazy. He comes in and he overflows. I mean, consider Gobert's role a bucket. This is a bucket, and it took a lot of water to fill that up. If you're Utah, that defensive centerpiece, Kessler comes in, fills it up, and then some. And he showed signs that maybe he's going to turn into more of an offensive player than Gobert ever was, which is great.
He did that one game. He hit a 3. I know that's only one game. Yada yada.
He hit a couple jumpers too.
Will Hardy talked about how much he believes that a guy like Walker Kessler can improve his game. Walker Kessler believes that, obviously. But Walker Kessler averaged more blocks a game than Rudy, more rebounds a game than Rudy, I'm pretty sure. Don't count.
Probably not.
I could be wrong.
It's close.
Regardless, Walker Kessler had a way better year. So, you just start there. And then, obviously, You've got the Donovan Mitchell trade, acquired some random dude named Lauri Markkanen. He was all right this year.
Let me point out that Lowry was this season the most efficient statistical offensive player in the entire league. That's impressive stuff. He comes in, and another one where, this is not a guy with a ton of expectations coming in. He had bounced around just a little bit, but now he's in Utah. He comes out and just has a fantastic year. That is what needed to happen for Utah. Everything really aligned in those two trades. Both trades are going to be in a few years. Both of them are going to be looked at as trades that Utah won heavily, right? So I think that is definitely a plus on our side.
You've also got a guy like Colin Sexton and Ochai Agbaji. Obviously, Sexton was dealing with a lot of injuries this year. I don't know how true those injuries were with Sexton and Clarkson.
I think that, they were just trying to be careful. I think that's what it was.
Right. But you got, 3 first-round draft picks along with that. You went into this year, no expectations. Read many articles before the regular season, and this team was slated to be the worst team in the NBA. Well, that team, the Utah Jazz, were nowhere near the worst team in the NBA. Started the year 10-3. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, this team had a great opening win over Denver, who's up 2-0 in the series versus the Phoenix Suns right now, looking like they're going to make the Western Conference Finals, if not the finals, if not win the finals this year. Denver's just playing absolutely amazing right now. And then went on the road, beat Minnesota, and then beat New Orleans. I mean, start the year 3-0. People are like, all right, I'm like, all right, nice little 3-game run. This is weird and whatnot. When is this going to stop? Well, it took a little more time before it did ultimately stop. Jazz went 10-3, and the Jazz were then, fell off a little bit, playing great ball throughout the, the first part of the season. Kind of hit a little bit of a dry spell. Picked it back up, though. We're consistently in that play-in spot. We were sitting around 7th or 8th in the Western Conference when everything then came together. I mean, you were having a great year from Mike Conley. Lauri Markkanen came up out of nowhere. Walker Kessler, Jordan Clarkson putting up insane offensive numbers. And then the trades all started to happen. It looked like for a little bit, Utah was going to hold off, not pull the trigger on a move. Utah ended up pulling the trigger on the move, Blake. They traded away Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt to a Lakers squad that very well could all of a sudden be in the finals. They got to get past Golden State. But if they get past Golden State, they could very well be in the finals.
Yeah, and that just proves to you that even though those guys were eventually shipped out, we don't know exactly what Utah was trying to do with that move. My opinion is they're driving room for cap space, first of all. Giving some room for the younger guys to really shine, which they did. We saw Taylor Horton-Tucker do a fantastic job in his role. I mean, dropping multiple 40-point games towards the end of the season. Just ridiculous stuff from THT. But you go down the line and you're looking at it. I think that they're trying to create cap space, just give a little breathing room for this team so that they can make moves, try to go after somebody in free agency, although there's not a lot of guys I really want in free agency, if I'm being totally honest. But
yeah, the free agent market is not
not good this year. So I almost wonder if it's one more year, then go after somebody. But anyway, they get rid of those guys, and it's questionable. But you can see each piece that Danny Ainge and this team, Justin Zanuck and Will Hardy, each piece that they have recruited, even if it's not with the Jazz right now, if it's with the Lakers, all of these guys are contributing in very big ways. Talk about Ochai Agbaji. Come in first half of the season, probably didn't score more than 10 twice. But after the first half, dude, he was everywhere. Ochai played fantastic basketball.
I mean, he was in the G League at the beginning of the year, not even playing with the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
Finally then got some real opportunity and shined. Had a 27-point game and a 28-point game versus Denver on April 8th, right before the season ended. I mean, Ochai Agbaji really put up a solid end to the season. And that's kind of what those trades did. Traded Mike Conley, Nikhil Walker-Alexander as well. He was one of the guys that was on the team last year.
Yeah, he was too. And JC. I'm just thinking of the other ones. I think that's it though.
So there were a couple more than 3. Yeah. I don't know where I got that 3 number.
It's like 5 or 6.
It's an all-season rush, guys. I promise it's not going to last for too long. But regardless, the Jazz made a lot of moves at the deadline and then still competed. Right? I mean, we got blown out by Minnesota the game after the. I mean, right after those trades were made, probably lost by 40. Worst game of the season, no doubt. And then kept fighting. Yeah, I mean, there was something about the heart of this team that was it was unbelievable, Blake. And it's something that we both complained about in the past with previous Jazz teams. They don't hustle. Nobody's diving on the ground. This team, it didn't matter. I mean, they're down 26 to the Celtics.
Right.
March 18th, right? Down 26. Come back. By the end of the second quarter, they make it an 8-point game. They end up winning the game.
Yeah.
That game against the Lakers on April 4th, absolutely ridiculous. Down 10 with the minute to go. Kelly Olynyk turns into prime white MJ. Ball starts going absolutely off. Hitting these most ridiculous bank threes I've ever seen in my life. And the team just never stopped fighting. They never quit, ever. And that's one of my favorite, parts, or was my favorite part about this team. And it leaves you a lot of hope and a lot of optimism. Now, I think what we got to do, we got to give this season a grade. And I'm talking from July 1st to April 10th or April 9th when the season ended. What would you grade everything that happened with the Utah Jazz? You go for it.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I think it's an A+. Because, look, I mean, we are in the lottery. We're a couple spots from that play-in, right? And the thing about it is, now we have our coach. We've got this guy who was with the Celtics, took them to a championship, on that coaching staff, comes here, and we see why. We see all of these guys, by the way, who coached under Pop are fantastic. Talk about Budenholzer, Quinn Snyder, and now Hardy taking the most recent step towards that greatness. I mean, he is looking really good. In your first year winning over 30 games with a team that wasn't supposed to win anything, I think if you could characterize this season in one word, it's unexpected. And if you could choose another word or another couple words, it's just gritty team. They did not mess around. Like, every game was treated as an opportunity, and that's what I loved. I give it an A+.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A. I can't go ahead and say it's an A+. I think A+ is making the plan. And I get maybe that wasn't the goal. Maybe the goal was to, get a better draft pick. And we got to see how the offseason plays out.
Right.
I get that it's this season, but it's not there for an A+. I'm not going to give it an A+, right? But I am going to give it an A. I think
there's a case for it, and I understand that because there's a case for it. But I get it. I'm just over the edge on it. That's all.
And from where we were at the end of the Dallas series last year, if you would have told me this is the spot we'd be going into a year from now, maybe it is an A+. But I'd give it an A. I'd give it an A because if you'd have told me that's where we were, that'd have been insane. And now, I'm going to say in the first 2 years of this channel, what have we had to film over the offseason? Or are we going to trade Donovan Mitchell? No.
Right.
Okay. Nothing. We got 3 first-round draft picks this year. We get the most money in the NBA, $61.1 million in cap space, bro. We can do whatever we want. Now, obviously, Blake just mentioned it. We're going to talk about it, but there's not a lot of great free agents out there. And again, who's coming to Utah. So, we're going to have to work through the trade.
But we have space. We have leeway. We have space. That's what we didn't have. That's what we didn't have before when we had to have these two guys, Rudy and Donovan, who obviously did not like each other. There was chemistry issues. There was issues on the floor. There were too many problems to make it justified. Now we have the breathing room. Let's let these executives work. Get the job done. Get the guys in here who we want. Whether it's Scoot, whether it's Victor, whether it's whoever the heck. As long as it's not Brandon Miller. I don't want that guy on my team.
Yeah.
He laid an egg. But anyway.
The Jazz have so much of a future, and we're excited to break it down for you guys all season long. Now, this is going to wrap up the first podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed it. But before we sign off, and we'll be back tomorrow, we're going to be filming some draft prospects, whatnot, maybe some player reviews. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. You'll find out tomorrow. Quick question before we head off, Blake. Give me your finals matchup prediction right now.
Ooh. I think I'm going to take the Lakers.
Get out.
Nope.
Podcast.
Nope.
End the podcast.
I'm taking the Lakers.
End the podcast.
Lakers.
It's the Nuggets. It's the Nuggets, and it's the 76ers.
I got Lakers and Knicks. Book it.
Nuggets 76ers. Lock it in. We'll see you tomorrow morning.